Big addition.
What is up, you guys? TechChucker here, and today we're going to do a review of the Marvel Legends Thanos Endgame Wave Hercules. Now, I finally saw this guy in stores. Check out the hunt video. I'll have that linked below. I just had to see what this guy looked like. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and crack this thing open and take a closer look. All right, we're going to go through the articulation pretty quickly since I am very, very late on this review. Hercules' head is on a ball hinge and he can look up quite a bit. That's really good. He can look down pretty well, getting his chin all the way down into his chest. He's got good side-to-side motion, nothing getting in the way there. And then he has a little bit of tilt, not a huge amount, but you know, it's sufficient. Moving down into the shoulders, he's got a ball hinge in the shoulder. It's a slightly different sculpt. It's very, very bulky in the ball, but he's able to get his arm out only about that far, just shy of 90 degrees. He is able to swivel that arm all the way around, which is good. He's got a bicep swivel that works pretty good, though it does look a little bit ugly as he rotates that, but getting back that far, nobody rotates their arm that far anyway. He's got double jointed elbows, but he probably could have just gotten by with a single joint there because the bicep is so big and it has to be for Hercules, so I'm not going to complain there. He's got a hinge joint and a peg in the wrists, and those work about as you would expect. Nothing really getting in the way there, and they swivel really nicely. He's got that standard hinge in the torso, and he's actually got pretty good range of motion, minus the harness getting in the way, but he can crunch forward that far. He can arch his back about that far, which is pretty good. He does have a waist swivel, and we'll talk about this in a minute. Down in the hips, he's got T-jointed ball joints in the hips, and he can get his legs apart about that far. Yeah, it'd be nice if it was a little further, but I still think that's farther than Pizza Spidey can go. He can kick forward about this far, which is decent enough. Not quite 90. If you really push it, you might get there, but I don't know. That would have been nice if it went a little further. He can only kick back about that far. Not a huge amount. It's sufficient, though. He does have a upper thigh swivel that works good. It just kind of cuts the design a little bit as you use that. Double jointed knees work really, really well. Nothing really to complain about there. He has an upper shin cut that works good. I'm worried that that's going to get a little loose. And then down in the ankle, he has a hinge. He can get his foot back that far, and he can get his foot forward quite a ways, which is really good. And then he also has an ankle rocker. So overall, the articulation on this guy is pretty darn good. It's very Marvel Legends. It's good. There's nothing really to complain about for this particular one. The sculpt and the paintwork on this figure is actually pretty good, especially for a Marvel Legends, but I really like the face sculpt. I think they did a very nice job with that. I think they painted the eyes very well. You can see the blue in the irises there. They did a nice job with that. The sculpting on his hair is actually really, really nicely done. They've got this little ponytail bun. That is well done. And then the hairs, they sculpted that very, very well. So I'm really pleased with the head sculpt. It just needs a little bit of paint on the, I don't even know what this thing is called, but this needed paint. That's really all I have to complain about for the head sculpt. I really like the sculpt throughout the body. I think they did a nice job with that. The one thing I'm not a huge fan of is the way that this shoulder is. The sculpt basically just breaks right here at the top of the shoulder, and then it's smooth. And it just kind of looks ugly. And it does that down here in the ball part of the underarm as well. It's not a big deal. It just looks a little funny. I wish that they would have done a little extra sculpt to give it just a little bit more natural look. But, you know, it's Hasbro. We can't complain too much. I guess the biggest issue that I do have is really with the belt and harness. And don't get me wrong. I like it. I think it's cool. I just wish that it was slightly softer, a little more pliable, because as you're maneuvering him around, it still is a little bit too rigid, and so it kind of bunches up and whatnot. And the one thing that I really just don't like is this flap that covers his crotch. When you do the waist swivel, this turns, and that's just that's impractical. It's just kind of dumb. I like the rest of it. I do think that some shading would have helped, but this is Hasbro. We're not always going to get shading. These wrist gauntlets, those could have used a little bit of a dry wash, black wash, or a dry brush, something to bring that out. The chest hair, that actually is painted pretty well. I think they did a good job with that. I do like that he has storage in the back of his harness. We'll go through that in a little bit when we get to the accessories, but I like that they give us that. Sometimes they do not. The other thing that I really like about this figure is the legs. Somebody let me know in the comments where these legs we've seen before, or are they completely new? I don't know, but they painted them really, really nicely. They've got some nice sculpt with the wrinkles and all that. Just some really nice detail. Could have used some paint on these buckles here. That always would have helped. Maybe a little bit of paint here on the ankle parts. But, you know, it's for a Hasbro figure, it's still really, really nicely sculpted and decently painted. All right, next up, let's see just how tall this guy is. And Hercules is coming in at roughly 6 3/4 inches tall. So he is a pretty good size figure. Obviously, he should be, as the comics require. Let's go ahead and do a size comparison between him and Deadpool, because I was a little bit concerned that Deadpool was going to be roughly the same height. Luckily, Deadpool is just a little bit shorter, which is exactly what it should be. So scale-wise, I think Hercules is pretty darn good. Good job, Hasbro, on that. Hasbro didn't give us a huge number of accessories for Hercules, but for the most part, they are pretty darn good. And you can see we get a set of alternate hands. These are weapon-holding hands. You can see that they are open, so he can hold each of these weapons, which we'll show in a moment. And then he comes with a sword, which is nicely sculpted, but there's pretty much no paint that I can see. The handle hilt is very nicely sculpted. It looks really good, just no paint. Same with the blade. And, you know, it's kind of soft, so you're not going to break it. It doesn't seem like it's brittle. There's some cool little markings here as though it's battle damaged. The markings are a little bit not natural looking. They definitely look like they were machined on there, but, you know, still looks nice. And then he also comes with this, what I believe to be some sort of a mace weapon with blades, 3 sets of blades, which is really, really cool. I like it. It's sculpted very nice. Again, just a lack of paint. It needed more paint. Needed some paint. There's just nothing on it. Now, if you wanted to, you could certainly add a little bit of a black wash or some dry brushing, and this would really, really pop. So, you know, it's pretty nice. I like it. One of the things that I noticed with this mace is, for whatever reason, the handle spins. And the head of it spins, so I don't know exactly what that does. I tried to pull it off and it didn't really come off, so I don't know. Somebody let me know in the comments below if you figured out a purpose for that. He is able to hold all of his weapons in storage on his back harness. The mace is the harder one to get in. You just kind of shove that in. That's why I thought originally the head of this would pop off, but I wasn't able to get it to pop off. So I just didn't want to break it. So that will mount like that, and then the sword slides into this little sheath-like deal here on the back there, and that looks pretty darn good. I like that. The hands are very easy to swap out, as are all Marvel Legends. We'll just show you what that looks like. Just pop the ones off and then pop these in. They're sculpted really nicely. They've got some nice detail work with some veins on there, and he's able to hold each of his weapons in his hands. The hands are relatively soft plastic, which is really nice. Sometimes they make these hands a little too rigid that you feel like you're going to break them off just by trying to force those weapons in. You can see he's holding that really nicely. The one and only thing that I would have liked is if there was maybe one hand where the hinge was doing kind of the rolling the dice where it goes up and down. That just would have been nice to be able to get some of those poses where he's standing nice and relaxed and it's just kind of pointing down a little bit more. Overall, I am really pleased with this figure. It's really pretty cool. It's not as amazing as I kind of thought it was going to be based off of the hype from other people, but still very nice. The paint is clean, the sculpt is really, really good. So overall, for a $20 figure, it's a pretty good value. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this figure. Is it one of the best that Hasbro has put out this year, or is it just kind of meh for you? Let me know in those comments below. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and until next time, I'll see you later.